knows what you might decide to do next. And if you think that that might prove fascinating, then you might want to lower your expectations. I don't think we're that gullible. Please welcome to the stage Carol Peppy Hewitt.
That was a relief. If you'd kept going, you would have gotten to the part where I want to kill my house cats and feed the birds. I'm sure someone is going to call me on that at some point. Hi, everybody. Hi. Well, I really want to go outside in the sun and go to lunch. Oh, but there's another person speaking. Oh dear, it's me. Well, I'm going to share with you a few happy stories before we head out into the sunshine. And I want to tell you briefly that 3 years ago, 2010, May 20, 2010, Woody Tash came to my small town of Pittsburgh, North Carolina. He was on his walkabout, peddling a book. Oh, I guess I'm now peddling a book. Called Inquiries into the Nature of Slow Money. And I heard him speak. It fell on very fertile ears because I had already gotten very interested in the local food movement. But a couple of us walked out into the hall and we took his challenge of making small money loans very seriously. And Lyle made a $2,000 loan to Lynette, a young woman who wanted to buy a Hobart mixer and get a bakery started. And I went up the street to a friend, Angelina, who I'd convinced, two of us had convinced her to start a Greek restaurant, even though she'd never been a restaurateur before. She'd expanded her restaurant when the building opened up next door. She'd cut a hole in the wall, an arch to be exact, and added a seating area. And I discovered in talking to her that she'd done that with credit card debt. So she had an $18% interest rate on a loan that she probably would never ever get to the principal, for many years. So a friend Gary and I came in with $3,000 each. We took out that credit card debt, and in 3 years, within about a few more months, she'll have paid off that entire debt, and so much for Bank of America. And basically, I was hooked. We decided we would do as many of these loans as fast as we could to learn how to do them. One of the things I know is that if you want to learn how to do something well, just do it often. You'll do it badly in the beginning, a little bit better, and a little bit better, but maybe if you're lucky, you might get good at it. So I'm not sure we're good at it yet, but we've sure been persistent. I've facilitated about 80 loans now. About 37 different farmers and food enterprises throughout North Carolina. I'm going to tell you one more story about one of the loans, and then I'll just give you a little bit about how we did that. And in the book, I also talk about why people lend. So I'm going to share one story about a borrower and one story about a lender, and then I'm going to get the heck out of here and get out into the sun. But I got to tell you about Jackie. When Jackie first found out about slow money, she came to one of our very early gatherings, and she needed $40,000 to start a bakery. Well, we'd done one loan for $2,000 and two for $3,000, and I had no idea how to get her $40,000. And so I had to send her away empty-handed. But about a year later, she came back. She'd actually gotten that money from something called the North Carolina Support Center. They'd given her a loan. But she accidentally bought a much too small mixer. She was much more successful than she'd expected, and she really needed a bigger mixer. And did I have anybody that might loan her probably $4,000 or $5,000 if she could find a used 60-gallon, is that right, Hobart mixer? Quart, 60 quart things. And I try to match people within their food shed. So Jackie lived over near Raleigh, North Carolina, in the Wake County area, and I didn't have anybody that had shown any interest in making a loan in that area. But I said, well, we'll see. And of course, within a couple of days, I was somewhere, and a young woman walked up to me and said, I love this idea of slow money. Do you know anybody in the Raleigh area that could use any help? I said, well, I do, actually. So I introduced her to Jackie, and they became friends, which is very important. Very personal peer-to-peer lending operation here. And then I kind of forgot about it, and I got a call from Jackie, and she said, I found a mixer, I'm so excited. I found a mixer, it's $4,600, it's a fantastic price, it's an 80-quart mixer, it has all the bits, it's fabulous. There's only one problem. It's in Miami. I've never been to Miami. But it just so happened that my daughter had had some knee surgery, and there's a very special clinic in Miami, and I had taken her down to Miami. I was sitting in a hotel and I said, you know, that's pretty interesting because I'm in Miami. You can't make this stuff up. So I got the address of the storage unit where the home part mixer was. And I went out there, and this fantastic couple, Italian couple, that just closed down a pizza shop. I'm Italian. We had a fantastic time talking about, and I looked at the mixer, looked good to me, you know. But they seemed like absolutely fabulous people, and I gave them $100 in cash that I could dig out of my wallet at the time. That was the down payment. She wired them the money the next day. They handled all the shipping. The mixer showed up, you know, a week or so later. And Jackie is a very happy baker, and she now runs something called Sweet Cheeks Bakery in Apex, North Carolina. So if you ever get to Apex, go have some good baked goods from Jackie. So we began to accumulate stories like this, and one after another, they had to be told. So at a certain point in history, I happened to be at a national gathering, the last one, and I ran into a publisher from New Society Publishers, and she said, an editor from New Society Publishers, and she said, if you write those stories down, we'll publish them. And they did. So that's kind of what this is. And it's my gift to you, because it's extremely easy to read. It's kind of like the Reader's Digest. Go away. It's kind of like the Reader's Digest version in the canon. You can just dip into it. You can simply read the gray boxes and nothing else. You can look in the contents to see through there. Sometimes people find themselves in there. But I want to share something, and I'm going to take a chance here because this is probably the most provocative section in this book. But why not? You know, you've been challenged already today, but there's a section called Why Lend, a chapter. And the first section in there is called Reclaiming Control of Our Money. It's a few paragraphs, and then one that says, People are funny about money. And it talks about how those of us in the 99%, it's a real struggle for us to think about taking a big risk sometimes. And yet people have done it. About 60 of them so far with my assistance. But I want to talk about slow money from the 1%. And I say here that it's worth noting that the children of the 1%, I've just talked about the children of the 99, do not escape getting confused about money. I saw this when I ran into a friend who had heard about my work with slow money. This was actually a true story that happened at the last national gathering, and if he's here, he can find me later. He had a large inheritance, and his late father's business kept generating even more money. But he was immobilized, wanting to do the right thing. That's why he sought me out to ask me, what should I do? But unable to decide what that would be. He wondered, should he spend some on farm preservation, or incubator farms, or what? And he'd been struggling with this for a long time. So I gave him a challenge. I said, go home, I suggested, and make a loan to a food entrepreneur in your community for $5,000, then call me. But even that made him feel conflicted because he owned homes in 3 places and didn't know which one to choose. I don't care, I said, just make a loan now. About 3 months later, I ran into him again at a music festival. He was still quibbling. So I made a stronger plea. Look, I urged, there is no reason you should let your wealth freeze you up like this. I know you can do this. Make a loan. Give me a call. 2 weeks later, he called. He was ecstatic. He'd made that first loan, and he was getting ready to make another. It wasn't the amount that mattered. It was his ability to push past the fear of making a mistake. Last time we spoke, he had helped finance numerous ventures. One is instrumental in getting organic, locally grown, healthy snacks into the public schools in his area. He's now part of a much larger project that he's funding as well. And if any of these ventures fail, his portfolio will scarcely notice. But for the people who got those loans, it will. It will matter, most likely, and it will make all the difference. So, So I just want to end by saying I really think that people wake up in the morning and they don't only need food, clothing, and shelter. I think there's an intrinsic part of us that desperately wants to make something happen. We want to go to bed at night knowing something resulted of our being awake that day, and preferably something good. So when I walk into Angelina's and I I get a Greek salad, I can look around and I can see that I made something happen. And the reason you can make something, the reason here is that because we can. Why should we make these loans? Because we can. Guys, this is our new slogan. Because we can. We can. And if we can't, maybe it's not an entire loan, maybe it's just a donation to gather. But we can. We can actually make a lot of impact. And I'm hoping that this little book might help be a blueprint for some of you that are starting to get groups going in your areas. Maybe you can pass it to a friend or family member that thinks this is all rather complicated, and they're going to find that it's extremely simple. The stories are one after the other, really touching, only because the people were so extraordinary and amazing that I got to know. So I guess my end here is to say to you, go home, have fun the rest of the, don't go home yet, have fun for the next day and a half, and then go home and make something happen. Thank you.
Let's give Carol a big round of applause. How about that first section? Let's hear it. That was great. That was great. We got 2 more of those coming up today. So go have lunch. Come back here just before 2 o'clock, get settled. If you see anybody standing around by themselves looking wistful outside, invite them to join you as you go eat.